Your Partner in Success Radio is a free business podcast with host Denise Griffitts. It's all about great stories, conversation, and context to help you move your business and life forward with actionable tips and advice from her guest experts. To listen and subscribe, just find us on iTunes, Google Play, or wherever you consume your podcasts.
Good morning and welcome to Your Partner in Success Radio. I am your host, Denise Griffitts, and this podcast has been bringing you conversations with authors, entrepreneurs, mentors, and business leaders for almost 18 years now. And I am honored to be ranked in the top 1.5% of podcasts worldwide. And today I get to welcome back to the show Dr. Karl Hebenstreit. Now, he is an organizational psychologist and leadership coach whose latest book, Explicit Expectations, it's on my desk, helps leaders and teams transform how they communicate and collaborate. And Karl is here to explain why so many managers, especially newly promoted ones, are left to figure out things all alone, and how misaligned or unspoken expectations can quietly destroy morale and productivity. And today's episode of Your Partner in Success Radio is sponsored by me, the Your Partner in Success Radio Preferred Partner Program. If you're a business owner, an author, or a service provider looking to expand your visibility and credibility through podcast sponsorships and guest appearances, visit yourpartnersuccessradio.com or call me directly, toll-free 888-719-6711 to learn more about how you can become a preferred partner and connect with hundreds of thousands of listeners. This is a very big podcast. Now let's return to Karl. Karl is here to share his new book, as I mentioned, Explicit Expectations, which offers a powerful guide to the management fundamentals every leader needs, but few are ever taught. So Karl, welcome back to the show, and thank you for sending me your book.
Thank you, Denise. Thank you for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be talking with you.
Thank you. We had so much fun the last time. I could not pronounce, I could spell it, but I could not find a way to say, tell me what it was.
Oh, you got it. I have trust in you. I have faith in you. Go for it.
Enneagram?
Yeah, Enneagram, exactly.
Enneagram.
Yeah.
See, I was close. I have no idea what my brain fart with that word is, but I can spell it, by golly. So,
well, it's not an everyday word for everyone yet.
No, it's there you go. That's exactly right. And that's also a terrific book. So welcome back. I'm really glad to have you here. And before we get started, I want to know what inspired you to write Explicit Expectations. I can't talk. And how does it fill the gap for managers who, and these are your words, often learn by fire?
Yeah. And that's exactly the inspiration for it. I actually was brought on to do a project for a startup because they were having this challenge. Startups don't have many resources when they're small and just getting going. And a lot of times they hire lots of individual contributors to do the actual work, who then, when they get larger, become automatically, oh, you've been here longest, so let's make you a manager because we have so many more people and we need to manage them somehow and bring them together and coordinate them. So you are going to be promoted into this management opportunity, either if you haven't even asked for it, but because we need you to because you've been here long enough, or B, because you have asked for it, but may have never been a manager of people before. So we have all these different people who are individual contributors with no knowledge of what it takes to manage people, now having all these people looking to them for direction, for feedback, for coaching, for performance management reviews, and expectations that they may not realize are thrust upon them by the organization as well. So the startup called me in and asked me to create just something that would be consistent, something that would provide some consistency, a resource guide for people who are either new to people management or maybe needed a refresher, so that they all spoke a common language, they all had the same common processes when they were faced with different people management responsibilities. So I put the book together for them, the project actually. It was a resource guide that they made available online in their intranet. And I realized that this was done by interviewing many people within the organization to see what their needs actually were. And I realized that there were even more needs that were not being addressed than what were being presented to me. So I asked the organization if they'd be okay if I took that project and expanded it and made it available worldwide. And this would be something that all startups, or even not even startups, even organizations in general, when they realize that they need to go back to the basics, because a lot of times they've forgotten them, this would be a great resource for them. It would be a great resource for anyone who is interested in becoming a people manager at some point, but doesn't know what it's going to be like, what types of roles that they're going to be taking on, and things that they're going to have to deal with, and how to deal with them. And ultimately, it's aligning expectations. It's really aligning the expectations of the organization to the person being promoted into this role, as well as that person who's being promoted with their expectations of what kind of support and resources they would need to be successful. But then even going to the expectations of their team members. So the person being promoted, what expectations do they have of their team members, and what expectations do those team members have of them? Because those never really get spoken. Those are all implicit expectations. And that's where we get into trouble. We think that, and this goes back to the conversation we had last time about trying to debunk the golden rule when it doesn't apply in all situations, and in this situation does not apply, because people believe or want to think that what their expectations are of their manager is what others would expect of them as well. And that's not always true. People have different needs, people have different expectations, they have different requirements, they have different skill levels, they have different backgrounds coming into a job. And so what they need needs to be explicit. So it really goes back to that song that we talked about last time too. I think we talked about the Spice Girls. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want.
Right.
Yeah, it's that in all directions.
Well, this sounds to me like you're describing not a communication problem, but a leadership blind spot.
Yeah. And it can be both.
Okay.
Like
Well,
I
that,
like to say, those are not mutually exclusive.
yeah. Well, and I think you're right. And you've noted that many new supervisors aren't given the tools to succeed. And honestly, I've seen people, I know people who were just abruptly, put in a spot and they're saying, oh, hell no. And they say no, they won't take the position because they know.
And that's what we're
One,
seeing now. We're seeing
yeah,
that more than ever. Our
yeah,
younger
they don't
generations are
understand it.
refusing to take on leadership responsibilities or management responsibilities.
Well, unless they're trained to do something with it, they really shouldn't be, stuck in there.
And I think that they're also realizing that there's so much more expected of them.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, and you know what, I noticed this when I was a lot younger because I witnessed it when I was in school and I hated school, by the way. But the most incompetent teachers would get, all of a sudden their vice principal or their
Mhm.
principal or their supervisor. It was clear to everybody, even the students, that they should not be doing what they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's called the Peter principle, right?
Right.
You get promoted to your point of highest incompetence. And that's the danger, and that's the danger we're trying to prevent with this, because we're trying to, first of all, prepare people for what they should be expecting in this role, to decide, oh, wait, I don't want to do this, so let's not do this. And if they do want to do this, how can they be good at it? Right? So this is a way to prepare them to be good at it, to be effective at it. And the other thing is to make sure that people are holding each other accountable in this, so that people speak up and say, hold on, I want something different. I was expecting something else. This isn't what I signed up for, or I need more resources or more help or more coaching in this area, and I need you to provide that to me in order for me to be successful. This is going in all directions, by the way.
It would have to.
Yeah.
So when they're good at the job, but not necessarily good at leading people doing that job, how can they make that transition without losing confidence or credibility? I think you just described it partially, but what else can be done?
I think this really depends on their manager and the organization and the coaching that they receive. So before someone is promoted or hired or even considered for a position that's above what they currently are, it really is incumbent on their manager to have conversations with them to see, like, what is it that you really want to do in this organization? Where do you see yourself? What do you want to grow towards? And is that even feasible and plausible given your background, your experience, your skills, your talents? So really having those transparent, difficult, maybe sometimes difficult conversations where that comes out, and this game plan, this roadmap of, in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve, your aspirations, this is what it would take, and this is what we need you to display for us, to exhibit for us, so that we are confident that you're going to be successful in this role and that you're going to like it. Because that's what we see a lot of times. A lot of times, and again, falling back into that golden rule principle, a leader may see someone who's a direct report of theirs and say, oh, this person's going to aspire to be in a leadership position like I am because this is what I wanted. And this is the track and the road that I took and the path that I took. So this is going to be the right path for them as well. And then they just go and put them on a succession plan list without even talking to them. And I've seen that happen in organizations, larger organizations too, by the way, huge organizations, well, the 100,000 employees. And when the time comes that an opening exists, and that's the other thing, an opening has to exist. It's not just an expectation of, well, I put in my 2 years, now I need to be promoted. There needs to be an actual need and an opening and a budget to promote this person into that role. But when that happens, when someone leaves and maybe there's a vacancy and they need to fill that vacancy and backfill it, I've seen people who were the next on the list on the succession plan get skipped over because it wasn't real. They didn't really want it. They weren't really ready. And then people farther down the list would get that opportunity given to them because they were actually more interested in it and more prepared for it. So it's another call to action of making sure that these succession plans that organizations make are real. They're not just based on the golden rule where I think this person would be good. I never really had a conversation with them, but I'm going to put them there as my successor. And then the reality is we don't have a successor.
No kidding.
Yeah.
And I'm writing notes down like crazy, but I would think, just from what you're describing, that somebody who gets skipped over and they're qualified, but they got passed over, did they leave? Did they just say, heck with you, I'm out of here?
If they really wanted that role and they thought that they were qualified, but they were
Uh,
skipped over for whatever reason, they might. Absolutely.
can't say I blame them.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
again, it goes back to what you're talking about earlier, communication, like having that clear communication about, are you ready? Are you not ready? This is what it's going to take for you to be ready.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned, Karl, that expectations need to be revisited often. What are some signs that alignment might be slipping before it turns into frustration or worse, turnover?
I think you hinted at with the last question or comment that you made is that person is going to get frustrated. That person's going to get disengaged. You're going to see them shutting down. We have all these quiet terms, right? Quiet quitting and everything else that we've heard. So I think you're going to start seeing more of that. You're going to see the people not volunteering for things, maybe coming in late, taking more time off than normal. They're missing deadlines. They're just not as eager or excited to be at work and engage with their fellow coworkers. Maybe relationships with their coworkers will start to be affected negatively. You'll see all that when expectations are not being aligned, that frustration. And you're absolutely right, it can lead to turnover.
It would have to. I mean,
Mhm.
once you've decided that you're not welcome there, whether that's true or
Yeah.
not, or you're not appreciated, or you're not moving up,
Hmm.
down laterally, you're not going anywhere, why would you stick around?
Exactly. And remember the other thing, that not everyone is motivated by that upward trajectory or even the lateral movement. There could be other things. And I think that that's where another expectation comes into play is, what is that person's core motivation? What do they really want out of their corporate engagement, out of their work life? And it may not be a promotion, it may not be a raise. It could be something that's a lot more easily given in an organization that is resource constrained, right? And we can go back to the Enneagram for this to help us to identify what some of those things might be that are not monetary. That could be just alignment with the values of the organization. If someone's not aligned with the values of the organization, depending on their Enneagram type, they're more likely to leave. Or if they're being told to do something that goes against their values, they're more likely to leave. It could be relationships and making sure that they have that connection with their coworkers or even with the customer. That could be really important to someone. And if they get put in a position where they don't have that anymore, that could cause them to leave.
Understood. And let's go back to the Enneagram. I think I said it
You
right.
got it.
Woohoo! I just patted myself on the head. You've
Mhm.
worked across industries from healthcare to tech. So I think my question is, have you noticed that the best leaders, no matter where they work, share certain behaviors or maybe more importantly, mindsets?
Absolutely. We're recording this podcast, and I think it's going to be released today as well, on Women's Day in Vietnam, believe it or not. So,
I saw
ha-
that this morning.
yeah, happy Women's Day in Vietnam, and we'll make that international for every woman across the world. And I think that's the answer right there, too. It's the difference that the superpower that women have, which has been proven. There have been research studies on this, that empathy of really understanding and wanting to understand other people, seeing where they're coming from, what their needs are, what their perspectives are, what their worldviews are, what their motivations are. So that's the superpower that we need to engage in. And that's a differentiator for leaders being more successful and effective. It's that emotional intelligence, and empathy is part of emotional intelligence, of course. So self-awareness comes along with that too. We want to have people be self-aware. Enneagram is fantastic in self-awareness because it helps you understand your strengths and your blind spots. And then it also helps you get to that empathy part where you realize that other people will see the world differently from the way that you do. And that's okay. In fact, it's what we need
It's
because,
mandatory as far as
yeah,
I'm concerned.
exactly. And we need to integrate it into our own worldview once we see that there's another way that has value as well and can contribute to making our worldview more robust and really understand what's going on. Definitely integrate it in there. So that's the third part of emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is the answer with that self-awareness, that empathy, and that integration of the new knowledge.
I agree with you. I cannot argue with that at all. And listen, I watch people a lot. As you know, I'm a highly committed introvert, highly
Hmm.
committed. I can only be around real live people for 59 and 3/4 minutes. I've timed it. Y'all wear me out. but but I love to meet up with people on this podcast and read your books and read your blogs. I watch and I observe and I learn. And
That's the, yeah.
that's how we should all operate if we can.
Absolutely. And it's the cognitive empathy as well as the emotional empathy, right? It's the combination of both. It's being able to understand and be interested in really other people's perspectives as well, not knowing that ours is not the best and the only one.
Oh, no. Half the time, I think, I'll do something or say something, and then I'll instantly go, "What the heck were you thinking?" And I have a little talk with myself. And, sometimes I figure out, well, it worked for me at the moment. I don't beat myself up on it,
Yeah.
but I'm constantly going, "Really, Denise, what were you thinking? Did
Yeah.
that work? Was that good? Are you going to do that again?" Probably. But, you know, at least I know now.
I love, there's a great coaching question that helps specifically our Enneagram type ones who are perfectionists, but this applies to anyone. And that is, what else is also true or can also be true at the same time?
I think I'm trying to think who it was, and she's very famous in the self-help arena, but she would always say, "Is it true? Is it really true?"
Hmm.
And you have to sit and I can see her face, I just can't remember her name, but I ask myself that a lot.
Yeah.
"Denise, was that true? Was it really true?" And then I'll say, "Was it really, really true?"
Yeah. And that, that's similar to that. Have you heard of the think principle? before you speak, think, and think stands for, is it true? Is it, the H is for helpful. I is it, well, I think people use the I for different things, but I think inquisitive is am I really being inquisitive and finding out more about this? N, is it necessary? And K, is it kind? So it's the think principle before we speak.
I'm not familiar with it, but it sounds like how I kind of try to operate. So
Yeah.
I'll go look it up. Um, do people, in
Or
your opinion,
inspiring. I could also be inspiring,
inspiring?
by the way. Sorry about that. I
Yeah,
is
yes.
inspiring. Yes.
Oh, okay, got it. I will look that up. Do you find that once people kind of figure out what their path is, where they're going, what they really bring to the table, that they get more introspective?
I think they get introspective before they figure out
Ah,
what their path is.
okay.
And I think introspection is necessary throughout the process as well, because it's great to do that self-reflection, figure out where you've been and what's gotten you there and what's helped and what hasn't helped. And then looking to see, can I tap into these helpful resources in the future? And then also, what other resources or strengths or abilities do I need to develop to continue to be successful in this trajectory?
Got it. When you're coaching someone who's overwhelmed, where do you start? Mindset, systems, relationships, all of the above?
When in any coaching engagement, any coach usually starts with some sort of assessment, whether it's a 360-degree feedback assessment, whether it's a personality assessment. And I love the Enneagram, so that's going to be my go-to because it's almost like a 360 without having to involve other people. So introverts would love this, right? Because you're not involving all these other people that you have to
Yeah.
reach out to and talk to them to get the information or to ask them that if it's okay that they be included in this. It's just done based on your Enneagram type and then the prediction of, well, these are the patterns that these Enneagram types play out. So these are the types of feedback that we would usually get. And then we can validate that feedback. So that's usually the first step. And then working off of that. And that understanding, that self-awareness usually starts to chip away at that overwhelm. The other thing that's been really helpful is a blast from the past. And this was what was called the Eisenhower matrix, which then Covey took and made the urgent important matrix. That, especially nowadays with so much stuff coming at us, is really helpful in helping to identify what's really quote unquote important. And when we use the word important, it's really what is helpful to us to achieve the goals that we've set for ourselves. That's what important really means. So it's goal relevant. And then adding in the urgency, because everything is urgent. Everything needs to be done right away. The deadline is tomorrow or even today for everything. And the urgency in this part is the time sensitivity, like how time sensitive is something. What we usually find is the time sensitivity is somebody else's time sensitivity. And it could be an unreal, it could be a fake deadline. It could be something that's just a made up deadline because they'd like it to be done by then, but it doesn't really have to be done by then. So categorizing and organizing things according to the importance of them to your achievement of your own goals, not necessarily somebody else's goals, but your own goals first, along with time sensitivity that's real, is a wonderful way of reducing that overwhelm and putting it into different categories. And then ultimately you'll find stuff that you shouldn't even be doing. When you start seeing that, hold on, this is for somebody else and it doesn't meet my goals at all. And the time sensitivity is not real. So let's get rid of that. Right. So really
Yeah.
going through and bucketing things into that 2x2 matrix to figure out what should be done, what can be done by other people, and what shouldn't be done at all.
That is not as easy as it sounds. Ask me how
No,
I know.
it's not. And, I think people are thinking that they only need to do it once, like once a year, or it used to be able to be done once a year. And that's not true anymore. That almost needs to be done once a day.
I was thinking weekly and I started to write down weekly and I went, crossed it through and put daily because you're
Yeah.
right.
But
I mean,
you can
things
start,
can
you could
change
start with it
overnight.
weekly. Yeah, you could start with it weekly because okay, this is what I need to do this week. And then things may change, right, for the daily. Or
Right.
this is what needs to be done this quarter, or this was what needs to be done this month. And then, of course, things change because everything is changing all around us.
And right now, I mean, we're at the last quarter of the year, and I
Mm-hmm.
sat down and I started architecting a new part of my business. It has to be done, in my opinion. I've ordered myself to have it done by the first of the year.
Yeah.
Now, that's a lot of stress and it's a lot of oh my gods, but I'm making it work because it's that important.
Right. Yeah. If it's the achievement of your goals and there's a specific reason why it needs to be done by a certain time, absolutely. Then that's top priority.
And when I use the word architect, I'm not joking. I'm architecting every single
Mm-hmm.
pillar, post, concrete pour.
The
I'm
detail. Yeah.
yeah, because I don't want to miss anything. I want it to work as I can see it in my head. And I'm an autodidact, so I break things. I build them, I break them, I have to understand it. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how it's operating. So every day, when I'm through with my regular day, like I was explaining to you yesterday, I was on the phone with GoDaddy for what seemed like to
Hours.
infinity, and it was hours, it really
Yeah.
was. And it really blew off my work for the day.
Yeah.
Did I complain about it? Yes, bitterly. I did.
Well, that's part of the process. We need to blow off the steam before we can get onto the solution. And
I
I think a lot of
did.
people forget about that. A lot of people think that that's not socially acceptable. It's not something that's good or nice. But the reality is we do need to go through that process. We need to go through, let's have a productive process of blowing off the steam because of our frustration. Then let's get to the point of what's possible and then come up with the plan of action at the end. And some people skip
The plan of
one or
action, I
two of
bet.
those two things
Yeah,
and go right
yeah.
to the third one, and it's not and it's going to end up biting them at the end because they didn't go through the appropriate process, and the other stuff is going to come up later.
That's exactly right. And I'll tell you what I did. When I finally was able to walk off, I went out, I walked the dog, dug around in my flower beds and tore up anything that didn't look like it belonged there. I was vicious in the flower beds, but it calmed me down. It really did. So then when I went to sleep last night, when I finally went to sleep, I did what I always do, Carl. I turn it over to my subconscious for review.
Exactly.
So I said, okay, I say my prayers, and I do this out loud. I'm talking
Mhm.
to the ceiling fan with my eyes open. Somebody's listening to me.
Yep.
And I will tell my subconscious, this happened today. I'm over it, but now I need to get back on track.
Right.
What am I supposed to do? 3:18. Here it came. I wrote it down. So
It's always 3 o'clock something, isn't it?
it is. And for me, it's
That's the
3:18.
hour.
Right. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I woke up
Jet lag is the
calm.
same thing. Three
Really?
o'clock. It's always 3 o'clock for jet lag. Yeah.
I didn't know that. But I woke up this morning calm. I was still irritated when I went to sleep last night, but this morning I went, oh, I got this. Piece of
Yeah.
cake.
And the other thing I'm going to invite is you're putting a lot of stress on yourself to do all this stuff by yourself, at least from what you're saying right now. And this is another major lesson from not only from explicit expectations and from the Enneagram, but in life for any type. You're not in it alone.
I
And
know.
remember, there are other people that might be looking at this from a different perspective, that may have a clearer way of coming to a solution or a conclusion. And you don't have to do it by yourself. There
It
are other
took me
people in your
years
network.
to figure out, because, introvert. Don't really like asking
Hmm.
people for help. That's a pride thing. And I finally
Yeah.
figured that out. I don't want to look or feel stupid. That's a pride thing. It's ego. Dump
Hmm.
it. And once I got that out of the way and I started asking questions or asking for assistance or asking for somebody else's wisdom, life got a
Yeah.
whole lot easier.
Yeah. That always reminds me, and I always bring it back to music, right? In Chicago, where they have the duet that isn't really a duet because she can't do it alone. So she's asking for a help to come up with a two sister number. Her sister is no longer available, so she needs to have someone else. Because she killed her sister, obviously. But that's a good story.
Uh,
But
now
she
you're going to have to call me and tell me who that is.
it's Velma Kelly, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
she's asking for help in coming up with a two-person number because she can't do it alone. And we can't do it alone.
Right. And you really can't. I mean, I prefer to be alone. I really do. I'm alone, I don't know, 89 to 90% of the time
Mhm.
by design,
Yeah.
but I can't do it alone. And it took me a while to figure out that, yeah, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm a nerd in stilettos. I can do this. I
Yeah.
was killing myself.
Yeah. But you can do it, and you could do it better and more easily with all the other network support that you have out there that is available to you,
That's
that wants to
exactly
help
right.
you, that actually wants to help you and
Yeah.
is not going to judge you.
Get out of your own way is what you're
Yeah,
saying. So,
exactly.
and that's not easy for people like me. It really isn't. But
Oh, it's not easy for everyone. Yeah.
oh, I thought I was just special. But
We are all special in our own special
yeah.
way, and we're not.
I know, I know. So when you wrote this book, how is it doing? I mean, what kind of response are you getting?
So the interesting thing about it is I think that it's getting great response from people that are in the organizations that are using them, like the startups, because they need that support and help. And the other thing that I've done is I've converted it into an AI enabled or led e e learning, basically. So it's an e-learning that is delivered by an AI clone of myself. And at the end of each chapter, it gives you a role play or a test or a way to engage in the topic of that chapter or that module. So that's been very well received as well. And
Okay, let's talk about your AI clone, AI R Carl. Where did you
yes.
find it and how does it work?
So it was really interesting. The AIR Carl clone, and I'm sure there's a better name for it, but that's what he's named right now, is something that was developed or came about from just a random conversation. Someone reached out to me and said that they were looking to create these a coaching support through AI for coaches to be able to scale the coaching practice. If they're a solopreneur that wants to scale his or her coaching practice, that would be the case. So they were able to create this technology that basically replicated my style, my sense of humor, hopefully my empathy, the models that I use. It looked at all of the books that I've written and the articles and the blogs and everything and podcasts and really all brought them all together so that this AI clone would be able to use all that information in coaching and also in delivering this workshop. So the original company that this was Amigo.ai, then they ended up going in a healthcare oriented direction. So they're in that land and they transferred me over to Coachbot.ai, who's picked up the clone and continues the practice this way. So that's really what's fascinating because again, it allows individual solopreneurs to be able to scale the delivery of their work and their impact, our impact, to large organizations or one person at a time, through one person at a time. The other really cool thing is you mentioned introverts. Introverts are very appreciative of the ability to go in whenever they want and not necessarily having to talk to a person, although all that information is collected and aggregated and themed so that I know what's going on in an organization and can go back and say, hold on a second, we're having lots of challenges in this area. Maybe we need to come up with some sort of system-wide intervention to be able to address the entire organization rather than one person at a time. And we'll be able to make a bigger impact that way.
So while people are interacting with your clone, you're also learning from them.
Absolutely.
See, I love that. That makes perfect sense to me.
And
How did
everything is all ethical, by the way, because it's all taught to use the ethical guidelines of the International Coaching Federation. And there are different um, ways that it challenges and it contains everything. All the information is confidential, of course. There are guardrails that prevent it from going into anything bad. And I'm able to go and look at the transcripts and see, oh, no, I need to do a deeper dive with this. This is something that's coming up that I really should get back to this person about.
and this is not we Up until recently, 5, 10 years ago, I don't even know, but just recently, maybe within the past decade, we've been able really to extract and extrapolate what's really going on in the background.
Exactly.
And I think that is very helpful when you're either
Yeah,
coaching or you're a business or you're a podcast or whatever you're doing. If you don't know what people need to know from you, you are missing a whole lot of information that will never get to you.
exactly. And then you can't have the impact that you is possible, that is expected of you, right? Going back to expectations, you're bringing in a coach to have some sort of expectation of change in behavior, change in results, change in mindsets for the better, for the positive. And if you don't
Right.
have the full story, you're not able to achieve the optimization of those results.
Well, if you don't have the story, we call that you're operating under what we call in the Deep South a WAG, WAG, wild ass guess.
Yeah,
Doesn't get you anywhere.
no.
And if it does, it's surely by accident.
And it may not be, again, the best that it could be. Yeah, it could be better.
Exactly. You mentioned Stephen Covey a bit ago. Have you read his daughter's book, Live Life in Crescendo? Your most
No.
important, oh, you've got to. Your
Mhm.
most important work is always ahead of you. She wrote this. He asked her before he passed, because he was in
Mhm.
the middle of dementia, and he asked her to write this book with him. That was their final book.
Oh, nice.
It's an amazing book. It's called Crescendo.
I will have to look at it.
Yeah, take a look. I think you would really enjoy it. Okay, so let's go back to the AI version because I'm fascinated. How do you keep the human touch in a digital tool? I mean, you mentioned
Ah, yeah.
some of the steps, but
Mhm.
that seems to me that would be the trickiest part of it.
Well, the other thing that I do, anyone who's going through the program, the AI program, still has access to me. And I do Zoom calls where anyone who's going through the program can just call in and participate in a group coaching session, ask questions, see who else is going through it. Obviously, there's no sharing of confidential information there, but it's just a way for people to have access to me as well. And people have one-on-one access to me regardless.
How do they reach you?
So I'm always reachable. LinkedIn, and it's my name with an R in front of it. So R, Karl, Karl, Hebenstreit, Hebenstreit. Excuse me. And my email address, of course, is through my website. You can always go to my website too. It's www.performandfunction.com. So it's a play on the word form and function, or the phrase form and function, but it's perform and function, and the and is spelled out. And my email is Karl, Karl, at performandfunction.com.
Got it. Listen, for those of you who are listening who are not in leadership roles, what kind of advice can you give them? Maybe they're on the receiving end of unclear expectations. What's maybe one thing that they can respectively start that clarity conversation?
There is an engagement and alignment guide that is in the book at the very, very end. Ultimately, everything in the book leads to this engagement and alignment guide. And I have it for free available on my website. So just go there, you can just download it. It's a great conversation starter. If you are not receiving clarity, if you're getting mixed signals, or you feel like you don't have the whole picture, go ahead and download that engagement and alignment guide and ask for a one-on-one with your manager, or maybe with your direct reports. If you're thinking that, what am I doing? Well, I think I'm being clear, but it's not coming through and they're not doing what I'm expecting. So you could do the same thing with your direct reports as well, and have that conversation. Sit down with them and work through that worksheet, that document, fill it out, see where you're aligned, see where you're not aligned, find out new information about each other. And that's going to make the relationship much better and your work life a lot more satisfying.
Yeah, you don't want to get in your car and bite the steering wheel and then yell at your wife when you get home because your day was
No,
rotten.
exactly.
And just for fun, what is one word that you would like to retire from workplace jargon forever? Or do you have
Hmm.
more than one word?
Wow. Oh boy.
If you've got a
Ha,
list, share it.
ah. So Yeah, I used to be privy to many when I was sitting through all the meetings as an internal. I You would hear them all the time. Maybe and I'm certain I'm guilty of using them on occasion as well because they're so prevalent, and sometimes that's just what people understand. One of them is maybe lean in
Oh
or
God, yeah, I know.
leverage, or and sometimes those are the right words. It's just that they're so overused.
And moving forward,
Yeah.
that one just makes my skin crawl. Moving forward. Well, we didn't finish what we were talking about.
Yeah, exactly. In the interest of time,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
there's
what's
still more
the
energy here. Yeah, we need to discuss this more. We didn't land on, we didn't finish this.
There's a lot of them, I know, and they're so overused that I think people don't even hear them anymore.
Well, especially, and if you have a bingo card with them on it, and you see people like filling out the little bingo card and saying, "Yep, I got my five in a row."
I didn't see that one happening this year. There it goes. Carl, what's the hardest lesson you've had to learn as a leader? Because you've been doing this for a while. Was there one particular lesson that you just went, "Oh, that hurt"?
I think it really comes down to the golden rule and thinking that I knew what other people needed or wanted in the moment, and then realizing that they didn't. And that goes back to delivering a presentation when I was very young at a conference for the Society for Human Resource Management, and having people literally walk out on me because it was not what they were expecting. And I thought I knew what they expected. And so that's been the key, going back to the golden rule. I don't know what they want. I need to find out what they want in advance. I can ask them in the moment and then customize in the moment. And that's exactly what I did the second time. I had to do it right after. And that worked a lot better because no one walked out. But that was the lesson. It really hit hard. And it really goes back to the Enneagram as well. It's like knowing that people are not going to want what I think that they want or that I want. So I need to figure out, I'm not a mind reader. Let me find out from them by talking to them and asking them.
Carl, I think so much of what drives you is curiosity.
Yeah. Yes. That is the antidote, by the way. Being genuinely and authentically curious is the antidote to arrogance. And a lot of times people think of some leaders as arrogant, especially if they think that they know all the answers. And the antidote, of course, is always that authentic and genuine curiosity to find out what's really going on. What else could be true? What else is true at the same time?
Exactly. And that goes back to empathy. And I'm not talking suicidal empathy that we're seeing all over the world right now, where you're just letting people take over your countries. That's suicidal empathy, in my opinion. It's a whole different topic. But EQ, IQ, empathy, you need to work on these things.
Mm-hmm.
How
Absolutely.
do we work on them? What if we're not aware that we're missing one or two of these pieces?
Well, that's the other great thing. You could do it alone with the Enneagram by doing a self-assessment and understanding what your blind spots are. So then seeing that you're missing them because it'll tell you. And you can also do it through others by asking questions, asking them what you're not seeing, what they're seeing that you may not be seeing.
Years ago, I had a female coach for a short time. And it was meant to be just a short thing. And I loved her. She was great. But she was listening to me probably rant, rave, and complain about something, I'm sure. And she stopped. She was listening very quietly, and then there was just dead silence because she wasn't responding. And I said, "Are you still there?" And she said, "Denise, what are you tolerating?"
Mm-hmm.
That changed my perception forever
Mm-hmm.
because I was tolerating a lot of stuff that I wasn't even aware of. Some of
Right.
it was just minor, or what we call in the deep South picayune. And some of it was like, "What the heck were you thinking, Denise?"
Yeah.
So what are you tolerating? That's something I ask myself all the time.
Yeah. And how are you not being true to yourself and your own needs? Yeah.
Exactly, without being selfish about it. And,
Right.
people will accuse you of being selfish when you just say no. But I have to tell you, Carl, no is my favorite word. When I was born, my mother insisted when I was able to start talking that my first word was not cat, dog, mama, daddy. It was no. And she said I
Wow.
meant it.
that boundary setting is a huge lesson for many people, and it's very
Yeah.
difficult for many people. And I think what the whole concept of being selfish, if you think about it in terms of what we taught on airplanes, right? Put on your oxygen mask on first
So you can
so
help
you
other
can help
people.
others, so you can
Right.
help, so you're able to help other people. It's not that you're just taking all the oxygen for yourself and not giving it to anyone else, right? It's I need to be able to help other people. Otherwise, I can't help them. So put that oxygen mask on first. Know that you're energized and have the resources and capability to help them, and then help them.
Well,
So
listen, when you're talking with people, do they will they say to you, I'm frequently accused of being selfish? How do you cope with that?
again, it's perspective, right?
Yeah,
It's the people that will accuse other people of being selfish are the ones that probably need that self-care, or knowing how to there might be some interest in the or jealousy around how the other person knows how to self-care. And again, the person's going to be selfish if they just self-care and don't do anything else,
right.
right? But if that person is self-caring so that they can do something else and they can have the energy to then go out and help other people and do that, that's a totally different scenario. So it's just, again, it's expectation setting and perspective understanding.
And boundaries are not walls. Boundaries are they're a door.
Yeah,
And either I'm going to open it up and let you through that wall or not.
yeah,
But my boundaries are mine.
yeah,
And I
and
don't let anybody say, well, you shouldn't be doing that. Really? Well,
yeah,
and I will Ellie Mae clamp at them to death. Well, you just have a nice day now, you hear? And I hang up.
yeah. And I think that the boundaries, we talked earlier about that urgent important matrix, the Covey, the Eisenhower matrix. Boundaries can come out of that. Healthy boundaries can come out of that because you can start seeing where you're tolerating things, right? You said, what are you tolerating? So the stuff that you're tolerating is the stuff that the other people are wanting for themselves, which, by the way, then that might be selfish on their part. And then they're projecting their selfishness on you because you're not helping them with it, because you're realizing, hold on, I need to take care of my own stuff first before I can help you, right? So they don't see that because they're like, well, you need to help me. You're being selfish because you're not helping me. But if you put those healthy boundaries in place and explain to them, yeah, I'm happy to help you when I take care of these things that I need to take care of for myself so that I can help you, right? Or if you need stuff done that I can't do right now because I need to take care of this other stuff for myself, for my well-being, for my company's well-being, then here are some other resources you could look into that could help you immediately. And then I can circle back with you later when I can, when I have
Yeah,
time,
yeah.
when I have
That's great
energy.
advice. Listen, we've talked about this book and we've talked about your other book. Let's go back into both those books and if you can explain to our audience what they're both about, how they can combine, and
Yeah.
why they should go find you.
Thanks. So the original book that we talked about last time was The How and Why, Taking Care of Business with the Enneagram, which is now it's in third edition. And the Enneagram, we talked a little bit about it this podcast, but also a lot more the previous one. I'm sure people can find that one too.
Oh, yeah.
And it really is that perspective taking, that understanding that your own expectations may not be those of others, and to figure out how do we make that more explicit and more understood. So it's in integrating them. This book, Explicit Expectations, the Essential Guide and Toolkit of Management Fundamentals, is more of a practical toolkit of this is what you need to do to be an effective manager and what's going to be expected of you from a variety of perspectives, whether it's performance management or strategic planning, organization design, diversity, equity, and inclusion, recruiting, interviewing, hiring, onboarding people, goal setting, doing check-ins and one-on-ones, prioritization, delegation, and empowerment. And of course, that's where the Covey and Eisenhower matrix comes into play, the important urgent matrix. Coaching, other leadership styles, feedback, performance management we talked about, engaging and motivating your team, helping them with employee career development, holding effective team meetings, change management, terminations, and managing up. So all those are just the nuts and bolts that you'll be expected to do as a manager. Now, I think the Enneagram comes in part as a leader, right? Because it's all those things that help you become a leader in addition to the nuts and bolts of being a manager. So that's how that interplay comes into play. And even though it's not explicit, the Enneagram is not explicit in Explicit Expectations. In the engagement and alignment guide, you'll see that baked in there, and you'll see how people are trying to figure out, okay, this is my thinking style, my feeling style, my action style. What are yours from this list? And people can just self-select, and that can help them greatly. There's also, by the way, another book, a children's book that we haven't talked about. And I'm really happy to say that it's now a fifth version of it has been released in Portuguese. So it's available in English, in Spanish, French, Greek, and now Portuguese as of literally 2 days ago. And that's called Nina and the Really, Really Tough Decision. And that's helping our children learn about empathy and emotional intelligence at an early age so that they don't have to relearn it at a later age like we're having to do. So that's going to help our youth become much more emotionally intelligent and empathic and be much more successful in the world.
I love that. I saw you had posted that on LinkedIn and I went and looked. I went, oh, that's nice. So good for you. I'm proud of you.
Thanks.
And I'm not being sarcastic. I'm really proud of the work that you're here sharing with us. And I wanted to ask you just before, I know you've spent a lot of time with me here, but what do you want the audience to know before I reluctantly let you go? Where can they find you? Is there anything in particular that we haven't covered in either one of these shows that you really want people to know?
There is so much we haven't covered. I mean, the
I
Enneagram is
knew it.
so deep. And I think that the answer is you don't have to do it alone. We talked about this during this podcast. You don't have to do it alone. You don't have to take the journey on your own. You can start on your own through self-awareness and building that self-awareness, and then expand to include the perspectives of others, whether you do it through studying the Enneagram or talking to people and finding out their stories, hopefully both, and then integrate those stories. That's the solution. And also, when you have something that you're doing, don't feel like you're the only one and the burden is only on you. That's where we see burnout happen. That's where we see leaders fail. Tap into the knowledge, the added insights, the added worldviews of other people, their help, their resources. They want to help. Believe me, they want to see you be successful. And if they don't want to see you be successful, that you're not in the right environment.
Oh, I
So,
agree. And I've always said, and I made a note about entrepreneurs because you mentioned that the explicit expectations is for managers. Listen, you can be a manager of one.
yes.
This book doesn't have to be for people with a team or a small team or like I have a remote team. You've got to stop doing the things that you shouldn't be doing. You need to figure out how to assign work that you're doing that doesn't net you a darn thing, but going to bed really late and really tired, and just figure out how you're managing yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Start with self.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to marry you there. Listen, Karl, thank you so much for spending time with us today and for
Thank you
sharing.
again, Denise.
Oh, it's always my pleasure. And you can come back anytime.
I
And
appreciate that.
sharing practical wisdom about leadership, clarity, communication, empathy. And your work reminds us that a great management isn't about control. And you can be the only management in the place, but you still
Yep.
need to have some awareness of what you're doing. But it's about connection, honesty, and alignment. So, one more time, where can people connect with you and where can they find your books?
Thank you. So my books are available on Amazon.com. You can also find links to them on my website, which is www.performandfunction.com. You can email me at Karl@performandfunction.com, and Karl's with a K. And also LinkedIn, Karl Hebenstreit.
Listen, thank you, Karl. And to the audience, if you have ever struggled with unclear expectations, and if you're telling me you didn't, you're lying. So, whether as a leader or a part of a team, do yourself a favor and pick up a copy of Explicit Expectations, the essential guide and toolkit of management fundamentals. And we've been talking about the Enneagram. Go get that book as well, because these two books marry well together. You should really have both of them on your entrepreneurial bookcase. So you'll find it along with Karl's other resources at performandfunction.com. And as he mentioned, you can also connect with him on LinkedIn and explore how his AI RK Karl tool is AI RK Karl. tool brings ongoing coaching right to your fingertips. And of course, thank you for tuning in to your Partner in Success Radio. If you have found today's conversation valuable, please take a moment to share this episode and leave a quick review wherever you might listen, and subscribe so you never miss another inspiring guest. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, clarity isn't complicated. It's a choice we make every day. I am Denise Griffitts. Thank you for listening, and I will see you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Karl, thank you again.
Thank you, Denise. This has been awesome.
Oh, my pleasure.